Yeah, this is where I was born.
Uh-huh.
This is my hood.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How do you like Parc-Extension?
It's a very diverse neighborhood. I just love, staying here. It's close to everything. You have all the cultural, shops,
Yes.
mosques, temples,
Totally.
and it's so diverse and full of life. And I have a lot of friends who move out of Parc-Ex. They go to live in Laval and Vaudreuil, and then
Yeah.
they just feel homesick, kind of thing.
Yes.
They don't get used to the rhythm, the bustling life of Parc-Ex. So it's a great neighborhood, but it has a lot of challenges too.
It's very diverse. There's all kinds of different people.
Yeah.
It's bustling. There's a lot of energy. I definitely feel that. My neighbor was praying on the balcony.
On the balcony.
And I heard it faintly, and I very gently, discreetly opened my door so that I could hear the prayer, because it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful to hear that. It brought me back to when I used to go to mosque when I was younger. Her prayer was a bit different. It was also a Muslim prayer, but it was different than ours. But it was so beautiful. And then later that day, I was leaving the house, and I mentioned it because she was on the balcony with her kids. Her kids are always saying hi.
Yeah.
And I said, "Were you praying earlier?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh yes, I'm so sorry. Did I disturb you?" And I said, "No, it was really beautiful. Thank you." And still, I feel like she might not pray again. How do you feel about the space that religion and culture and diversity has in a neighborhood that's very diverse, in a larger context where there is a kind of, I think, fear around that, because I think that people are they feel like they're disturbing when they're being themselves. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think in general, religiously, we live in a society where religion is not that important, and I think some people might just feel shame or might not feel comfortable in public spaces, or fear of being judged. And especially in a society like Quebec, where it's even more, of a thing where secularism and laïcité are a regular debate in the public forum. So that might make it a bit harder. But I've seen when I was in Cégep, there were some people praying in the staircases, right? Hiding in the staircases and praying there in the staircases where no one pretty much goes. But for instance, in other places, in the rest of Canada, for instance, there are some places where you can pray in a room, and maybe people don't feel comfortable making those demands here, or those demands are not kind of met here. So I think there's that, but I think in Parc-Ex in general, people go to temples, to mosques, to, they're not afraid of, especially the first generation of immigrants. They're pretty much into it.
Totally.
The youth, it depends. It depends on how it goes with that and with family. How about you? How do you feel about that?
I find that for a long time I was ashamed of my culture, and I felt pressure to separate myself from it.
Yeah.
I think for different kinds of people from different communities, it's different. I think for South Asian people, because of the stereotypes, I was afraid of how my language sounded. I was afraid, obviously, of being Muslim and stuff like that. But now I realize that there's a lot of beauty in a lot of what we learned, grew up learning. And I really, really appreciate something that my imam said a long time ago about the West. He said, "Leave the good, take the bad. Take the good,
leave the bad." Is that?
Let's leave all that in, because that's Rizwan.
That is us
that's
on the
us.
natural.
Exactly. You complete me. Where is that from? Where is that from? It's not Ghost.
I've lost you.
No, but one thing that really inspires me is when I go to St. Roch Park, I see this very old African Muslim woman, and she hangs out with her grandchildren. Everybody's running around, and I recognize a few of the kids. They play with me. I feel so good playing with strangers' kids. I don't know if that's creepy, but I just love it. And this old lady, every few hours, she goes into the corner, right, really at the edge of the park, And she lays her mat down and she prays. And I feel so inspired by that because she's so strong that she's able to express herself and really enjoy her spirituality in the wind, in the
outside,
sun, on the grass.
Yeah.
That's how it was always supposed to be for me, you know?
Yeah.
So that's much respect to that. I do feel sad though that as the neighborhood changes and there's more of a certain new kind of clientele in the neighborhood, that she was going to feel less comfortable. Some people might complain, you know, might take up a lot of space. There might be some really loud, obnoxious, you know, music. Exactly, you know. Or even well-meaning comments, you know. Like sometimes you just want peace. You don't want to have to talk about or justify yourself. There's good and bad, you know. But how do you feel about how the neighborhood is changing?
The neighborhood has changed a lot in those past years, especially I would say you could see on the housing market, right? That's a big change that is happening. Since the university campus opened, there's a lot of people coming into the neighborhood, buying properties that pushes up the prices of property in general. And people who have been living here since 20 years, 25 years, people who are living in precarious conditions get pushed out. I work at the Parc-Extension Housing Committee, and we're seeing a lot of evictions, renovictions. That's a new thing where people just buy up buildings, they evict people, they renovate the buildings, the units, and then they crank up those rents, double, triple them, and rent them out to like young students, for instance, who live in colocation and have the means to pay higher rents. So that's a big change that is happening. I would have no issues with having more people, more diversity, more diverse, you know, backgrounds, people coming in, as long as the people who are actually in the neighborhood since a long time and are established don't bear the brunt of the consequences of that gentrification coming in the neighborhood. Like for every unit of renovations, if there was a unit of social housing or affordable housing, I would have no problem. Bring it on. Bring that money in my neighborhood. I want that. I want those chic cafes. Bring it in.
Totally.
But I don't want my folks to get evicted, right? The folks that are here. And there's so many challenges and systemic barriers and the language barriers and people not knowing their rights that it just makes the whole thing even more complicated and the power dynamics are at play here.
You have answered 6 questions.
6 questions.
That's amazing. In that one answer,
6
that's
for
beautiful.
1.
Thank you so much. And it feels like what you're saying is coming from the heart. It doesn't feel like political rhetoric, you know?
Because I live it, right? I'm living here in the neighborhood.
Amen.
I'm 22. It's, you know, that's my hood. That's where I was born. I saw those changes happening. And they're happening faster than predicted. And I might have to bear the brunt of that at some point. You know, I might get evicted. You know, my building got bought by a developer. So, you know, I might, you know, end up maybe leaving the neighborhood because I might be priced out of that place, which is great and diverse, and you know, it's beautiful to live here. I don't want to. I don't want to move out. You know.
Shadow gaze, not bad. Rizwan, thank you so much for meeting with me.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have those conversations.
Beautiful. Thank you.